Picture this. You're walking through the jungle, the thick humidity clinging to your skin. Birds are quiet. There's a stillness that feels unnatural. And then you see them. Rows and rows of people, lying motionless. Hundreds. Parents, children, grandparents. A whole community, gone. And in the middle of it all, a man slumped in a chair, a revolver by his side. This is Jonestown. Over 900 lives lost in one of the most haunting events of the 20th century. But how did it come to this? Let's go back to the beginning. Before the jungle, before the poison, before the headlines. Let me tell you about Jim Jones and the utopia he promised. Jim Jones was born in Indiana in 1931. Even as a kid, people said he was different. He grew up poor, isolated, with a sickly father and a mother who worked long hours. He didn't quite fit in, but he was obsessed with religion. He'd hop between churches, watching preachers, copying their fire and brimstone style. He held mock funerals for animals in his backyard, gave sermons to no one but trees. And yeah, he was charismatic. People noticed. But that charm, it came with control. From the start, he wasn't just preaching about power. He wanted it. In 1955, Jim Jones opened his first church in Indianapolis. It was called Wings of Deliverance, later renamed the People's Temple. He preached about racial unity, social justice, and equality. In the middle of segregated America, that message hit. He drew in black families, outcasts, people who felt left behind. And on the surface, it worked. His church fed the hungry, cared for the elderly, helped folks find housing. But behind closed doors, it was a different story. Jones staged faith healings using chicken guts and planted actors. He pressured followers to hand over money, and even their homes. And slowly, he started cutting them off from the outside world. In the 60s, Jones claimed he had a vision, something about an impending nuclear disaster. He said they had to move. So he packed up the temple and moved west to California. They started small in Ukiah, but by the 70s, the temple had expanded into San Francisco and Los Angeles. And this wasn't just a church anymore, it was a movement. They were helping addicts, feeding the poor, running schools and clinics. Politicians loved them. Jones helped get mayors elected, even hosted big names like Harvey Milk and Rosalind Carter. But all that power? It made Jones even bolder and more dangerous. Inside the temple, Jones was no longer just a preacher. He was father, a savior figure. He claimed to have healing powers. He said he could read minds. Even called himself the reincarnation of Lenin, Jesus, and Buddha. Members gave him their paychecks, their property, their trust. He demanded loyalty. He broke up families, discouraged holidays and outside contact. And the punishments? They were brutal. Public beatings, all-night confession sessions, sleep deprivation, kids forced to watch as parents were humiliated. This wasn't just devotion, it was control. And when stories started leaking to the press, Jones knew his time in the spotlight was about to end. In 1977, a bombshell article exposed the abuse happening in the People's Temple. That was the final straw. Jones rushed to enact a plan he'd been cooking up for years, his promised land, in the South American jungle. He called it Jonestown. He said it was paradise, a socialist utopia, free from racism and capitalism. No police, no press, no government, just peace. And so nearly 1,000 people followed him. They left behind homes, jobs, families. What they didn't know was they'd never come back. Jonestown didn't start off as a nightmare. At first, it felt like a fresh start. They cleared the land, built cabins, shared meals under the stars. There was music, laughter, community. For the early settlers, it felt like a miracle. But then, the others arrived. Hundreds more people flew in overnight, fleeing the scandal back home. Suddenly, food ran low. The soil wasn't fertile. Medical supplies dried up. The dream began to crack, and Jones, he started falling apart. By late '77, Jonestown was more like a prison. Jones's voice blasted over loudspeakers day and night, ranting about enemies, war, and betrayal. People worked from sunrise to sunset in sweltering heat. Meals were rice, and more rice. Books were banned. So were radios. So were private conversations. And then came the loyalty drills. He called them White Nights. Jones would wake everyone up in the middle of the night, claim the government was coming, that they had to die in protest. They'd line up, drink what they thought was poison, and wait. Turns out it was just juice, a test. But not forever. Back in the States, families were worried. They couldn't reach loved ones. Letters sounded off. Some stopped coming altogether. Defectors spoke out, describing abuse, fear, surveillance. So Congressman Leo Ryan decided to go see for himself. He flew to Guyana in November 1978, journalists and concerned relatives in tow. And what he found shocked him. At first, Jonestown rolled out the red carpet. Smiles, songs, a tour of the gardens. Jones even let some visitors stay overnight. But the cracks showed quickly. Some residents begged Ryan to take them home, slipped him notes, whispered their fears. Ryan promised to help. He planned to leave the next day with about 15 defectors. But Jones had other plans. As Ryan and the group boarded 2 planes at a remote jungle airstrip, armed temple guards pulled up in a tractor, and they opened fire. Congressman Ryan was shot. So were 3 journalists and 1 defector. 5 people died. And back at Jonestown, Jones knew the world would be coming for him. So he gave the order. They gathered everyone in the pavilion. He said the outside world would never understand. That death was the only escape. Mothers were told to bring their children forward. The poison, mixed with tranquilizers and cyanide, was handed out in cups. Children went first, then the elderly, then everyone else. Those who resisted were forced. Those who ran were shot. In the end, over 900 people were gone. 300 of them were kids. News of the tragedy spread slowly. At first, it didn't seem real. But when photos hit the front pages, bodies sprawled across the jungle floor, the world gasped. How could this happen? How could one man convince so many people to give up everything, including their lives? The answer, bit by bit, one compromise at a time. Jonestown changed the way we talk about power, belief, and control. It made us question who we follow and why. It reminded us that not every smile hides kindness. Not every leader deserves devotion. And it taught us something darkly important. Sometimes, the most dangerous place isn't a battlefield. It's the place where people stop asking questions. If this story hit you like it hit me, then you get why we tell it. We tell it so it won't happen again. So we can spot the signs. So we can protect each other. And if you want more stories like this, deep dives into the darkest corners of human history, stick around. Because this channel, it's not just about what happened, it's about why it happened and what it means for the rest of us. So go ahead, subscribe, like, share. Just don't drink the Kool-Aid.